Somebody once told me I smell like the old baloney I've been keeping under my bed. So I tried to take a shower, but my fingers and my thumbs got stuck inside of my forehead. I went to the hospital, they kicked me in the nuts cause insurance sucks. I called the doctor and the doctor said, no more monkey jumping on the bed. It's got nothing to do with me because he's just a doctor for monkeys. Running out of options, I went to a back alley surgeon. This happened. I said, I need help here, but I don't have insurance. He said he would help me if I gave him $10. He amputated my hands, but it left my fingers in my forehead.
Hey, what's with all the Shrek games?
Fine! I'll play them!
Does Shrek even need an introduction? If you were alive in the early 2000s, you know who Shrek is. With the wild success of his first movie, 3 more movies, and apparently there's a 5th one in the works now, that was prime material for joyless cash grabs in video game form, and I've got 4 of them. And so, I'm going to be starting with Shrek 2, based on the second movie, if you couldn't tell by the title. It starts with Shrek, Fiona, Donkey, and for some reason Gingy getting an invitation to the city of far, far away from Fiona's parents. And so you start collecting eyeballs. You always have a team of 4 characters and can switch between them as you please. Each one has their own attacks and abilities. Shrek can grab things, Donkey can kick through giant padlocks with horseshoes on them. Fiona can slow down time, just like in the movie. You go through different levels, solving puzzles, beating up enemies, waiting for the game to tell you good job every time you do something right. And most levels have Hero Time, which is basically a mandatory minigame, like pressing the right buttons or flying through an obstacle course. I will say that it changes up the gameplay because the puzzles can be tedious and the combat is boring. It just boils down to mashing B until you win, and the voice acting is...
I'll get you, Shrek. Ha ha ha!
Yeah. That said, the level design is pretty good for a movie tie-in. You come across obstacles that force you to use all of your team members and their unique abilities. The writing is okay, there's some charm here. But one thing that annoys me is there's always an excuse for one of your team members to bail on you so they can be replaced with someone else, like Little Red Riding Hood or Puss in Boots. And most of the time, it's Gingy that leaves you. After leaving the swamp and passing through a spooky forest, you reach far, far away where the king makes you do a bunch of random things like rounding up chickens, protecting Cinderella, putting Humpty Dumpty back together again, and following a troll around to pick up the treasure he drops. And between those chores, you can physically assault the townspeople and get the knights to come after you. Then you fight Puss in Boots, and the fight is... yeah. Then you go see Fairy Godmother, but to get in, you need to bring a package from Jack and Jill's farm, which was left in the care of the 3 pigs, who give you a series of chores before they give you the package. You go into Fairy Godmother's potion factory, fight her, steal a potion, run away from her, fight Prince Charming, run away from a cauldron, then you get a level based on the prison break scene from the movie. And that's as far as I got before I had as much of this game as I can tolerate. I don't hate it, but I don't like it enough to keep playing it. And besides, I got 3 more games I gotta cover, so we're moving on to Shrek Super Slam. Super Slam is a fighting game and a party game rolled into one in a similar vein to Smash Brothers. But instead of trying to throw your opponents out of the arena, you land hits on them to fill up your slam meter. Once it's full, you can use your slam attack. If it hits, you earn a point, and whoever gets hit by it goes flying and destroys part of the environment. Each character has their own combos for heavy hits and guard breakers, and this game is actually really fun. It gets very chaotic in a 4-player free-for-all. People are flying, you lose track of where you are, you find weapons and other power-ups. When it comes to video games made to capitalize on the success of a movie, this game shines. Maybe because instead of trying to let you play the movie, they decided to just make a fun party fighter. And look at that, there's a story mode. Donkey's trying to get his half-dragon children to go to sleep, so Shrek and friends tell a bunch of made-up stories about how they got into fights that didn't actually happen. The voice acting isn't bad.
Chance, Airball! So long as I wear a badge, no cookies get crumbled in this town!
The writing might get a chuckle out of you, and it lets you get a feel for several different characters, but the later stages where it's 3 against 1 can be absolutely infuriating. You can't do anything without getting interrupted. You'd go to grab somebody only to get grabbed yourself. I found the best strategy here is to take the lead as quick as possible and then avoid them until time runs out. When you finish the story, the drunkies are asleep, everyone walks out of the room, and Shrek gets mad at the narrator and wakes the babies. Story mode isn't very long, and all it unlocks is costumes for characters you already have. If you want to unlock other characters and levels, you have to play the Mega Challenge. This is where most of the fun is to be had as a single player. You move around on a game board, each challenge you complete earns you a Mega Point. You need a certain number of points to unlock challenges further in. If you find a cluster of challenges that has a question mark with Shrek ears, completing it unlocks a new level. If it's characters you're looking for, look for the magic mirror with somebody's face in it. That shows you who you'll unlock after beating it. There's some you've heard of like Humpty Dumpty, who looks terrifying, and others you might be less familiar with like Genome or Anthrax. The challenges you'll face range from simply getting the most slams, some of them every hit is a slam, some are utter chaos, some you have to reflect things at the gingerbread man or run an obstacle course or carry an ice cream cone that I can't seem to get a hold of. There's even a trophy room, like the modern day achievement system in most games before they caught on. Also you get to throw them. Shrek's Super Slam may be cheaply made, it may have been just a ploy to get rich quick off a popular name, but it's fun. Really fun. If you get the chance, play it for yourself. And that covers what is easily the best game we have here. Now, you better strap yourselves in, cause it's all downhill from here, and we're going down fast with Shrek Smash and Crash Racing. I knew Shrek would lend itself well to adventure games, and maybe fighting games, but I never thought it would be made into a kart racer. Oh god, what is Shrek riding? Seriously, what's that supposed to be? A swamp monster? Anyway, it's a racing game. You can do cup challenges where you compete in a series of races. The better you do in each race, the more points you get, and whoever has the most at the end wins the whole thing. You know, like in Mario Kart. There's also tournament mode, which has a story behind it. Shrek and Gingy are seeing who can hold their breath longer. Then Donkey shows up having stolen Fairy Godmother's magic wand, and he turns a piece of wood into a wooden horse, he turns a snail into what nightmares are made of, and other things into other mounts. Shrek says, "We need to fix this," and Gingy says, "Nope, we racing." And that's it. That's the whole story. In tournament mode, you compete in 3 cup challenges back to back. And wouldn't you know it, this game is exactly the same as any other lackluster kart racer. You race through the track as fast as you can, picking up items to help yourself or screw over the other racers. You get a speed boost, you get a thing that just makes you big, a goose that homes in on the guy in front of you, a frog that does the exact same thing, an explosive gnome that sometimes acts like a laser-guided missile, and sometimes you just throw it into the sky. And then there's the snowflake, the most powerful item in the game. It freezes everybody except the user. And you know how Mario Kart only gives the best items like the blue shell, the lightning, and the bullet bill to people furthest in the back? This game doesn't do that. At one point, I got the snowflake when I was in second place. The controls are pretty simple. You move with the left stick and nothing else. You can't drift to take some turns without sacrificing too much speed, but you can smack people upside the head with a club if you get close enough, which I love doing at the beginning of the race. You can jump over some holes in the ground and very easily get stuck on something, and then you immediately get thrown into last place, which usually happens to me on the final lap right in front of the finish line. And there's one time when the game just decided to fling me off the map for no reason. One thing this game does that I really don't like is the catchphrases. In Shrek 2, they would occasionally say something like that in the middle of combat, but here, they never shut the hell up. I've lost track of how many times I've heard,
Whoa! This beast still be under warranty! Hey, stay far, far away from me!
It gets really annoying really fast. Some of the tracks are good, I'll give it that, but for the most part, it's not really worth playing. There are much better, less annoying kart racers out there. You know, like Mario Kart. Well, that's 3 games down and only 1 to go. And I saved this one for last because it's either the absolute best or the absolute worst. Here's Shrek Extra Large. This is the only game in the video that isn't published by Activision, and it's also the only one where you can't make Shrek beat his wife. Coincidence? I think not. So let's start the... Oh. Why did they choose this shot for the title screen? They could have used the one with Shrek stepping out of the outhouse and it would have been so much better. So the first thing they teach you is how to move the camera. You can't look up or down, only side to side. And that's inverted with no option to change it. And you can zoom in the camera. Sweet Jesus! When would you ever need to zoom in this close? The controls feel so slippery and loose. You have punches and kicks, and instead of a regular double jump, you have a wall jump that sends you flying backward in an uncontrollable fashion. You can fart, which stuns enemies, and if you grab a chili pepper, you can burp fire for a short time, and the main use for that is to explode your fart clouds. When it comes to combat, you can knock your enemies out. You can't kill them. They get back up after about 30 seconds, and if you really want to be left alone, the best thing to do is to grab them while they're down, carry them somewhere else, and try to throw them somewhere they can't get out. You can grab them without putting them down, but that just gets you hurt, and when you die, Shrek just sits down and cries. The story goes, Erlin the Wizard kidnapped Princess Fiona because the Ice Queen stole his crystal ball, which is the source of his power, and he says to Shrek he'll give Fiona back if you kill the Ice Queen and get his crystal ball. And so the magic mirror says, let's go do some good deeds. Then we're off to the woods. Each level has 6 objectives, and the last 2 are always gathering golden eggs and evil fairies. Those 2 are optional, but you do have to do the other 4 to clear the level, and every time you do one of the objectives, Shrek does this. What is this even supposed to be? So you go looking for Little Red Riding Hood's stolen basket, then you find Hansel and Gretel.
I want the cookies.
Get them to the gingerbread house and they eat a hole in it that reveals an onion that gives you enough gas to blast a vault door open with your farts. And then there's the basket, but it's empty, so you have to go pick up all the goodies that fell out when it was stolen. And that's the first level. Red then sends you off to Mother Goose Land. The big goose wants their egg kids back, and Humpty Dumpty won't let you have them, so you smack him around, grab the kids by the throat, and punch them into the nest. And at the farm, Bo Peep needs help with her sheep. You have to put them back in their pen while this wolf keeps trying to throw them around, so you get rid of him the only way you can, and then strangle, punch, and kick the sheep back to where they belong. There's no good deed quite like animal abuse. and the game glitched and one of the sheep didn't spawn. So I went and did the other 2 missions here, which need to be done at night, which only happens if you hit the clock, and then it only lasts 40 seconds. The guards go to sleep and gotta wake them up by wall jumping off of bell towers, and Old MacDonald wants you to fart on a dancing cow. And to finish the sheep quest, I had to reload the level. In the next level, you wade through a river of diarrhea, fix a thing, break some things, throw some guys in the trash, fight a big guy, then you get to go in the sewers, where you burn some guys, bring other guys to these buttons, kick some valves open, and then you fight the Ice Queen. You have to jump on these tiny platforms and grab some chili peppers so you can blow her up with your ass gas, while she shoots what looks like raw chickens at you. And when the final blow is struck, she lays there dying and says, "Do me a favor and kill Merlin, would ya? I mean, he kidnapped your wife, you know you want to." Then Merlin shows up saying, "Oh, she hid my crystal ball in Blue Dragon Castle because dragon breath is the only thing that can hurt me. You're gonna need some special armor to protect yourself from the dragon's breath." And now we're on a mountain, and this guy says, "Give me that pot of gold, and I'll tell you where the crypt with that armor you want is." So you grab a 4-leaf clover and give it to a leprechaun, and he gives you some chili peppers to thaw out a minecart, and instead of that launching you to the pot of gold, it somehow creates updrafts that you can ride to get there. A giant bird steals the gold, and you get it back by beating up gnomes. I had a lot of trouble finding the last gnome, too. I thought it glitched and just didn't spawn him like the sheep, but it turns out he was just stuck against a wall somewhere. He gets his pot of gold and tells you where the crypt is, and you need to turn on some music and lead skeletons into the church to trap them. So I got them up here punching and kicking them into the door, and it closed them in, but nothing happened. Apparently, you need to have them all following you while the music is playing and bring them in front of the church. Then you fart on some witches and punch them, round up some baby spiders and chase bats around until they knock the armor off this column. We have what we need to go to Blue Dragon Castle and get the crystal ball, so instead of doing that, you go to the Crown Prince's castle, pick him up and carry him to his sister. Why do I walk so slow carrying him? I can move full speed holding a grown man in heavy steel-plated armor, but the little prince here weighs a ton. Then you lock up the jailer, kick the prisoners out the window, and blow up the jesters, and now we finally get to Blue Dragon Castle. The dragon this place is named after is annoyed, so we lead baby dragons into a pool, save fish from the dry moat by bringing them to the same pool, but you can only carry them for 2 seconds at a time before Shrek just drops them. And you need to light these torches. Not a simple fire burp will do. That would be too easy. You need a fart explosion to light them. And for one of them, you need to jump down below, grab the chili pepper, and get back up there with the clumsy-ass wall jump, let out a fart, and turn around and light it up before the pepper runs out. This one part got me so angry. The wall jump just kept sending me the wrong way, and sometimes it just didn't work. But once it's lit, the dragon drops a key, which unlocks the most abominable platforming section in the game. You have to rely on blindly wall jumping to get up this tower. One wrong jump and you fall all the way down and have to start climbing again. It's like Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy, a game that's deliberately designed to piss you off. Also, you can fart on the dancing cow again. And so the dragon gives you the crystal ball and something that gives you permanent fire burps for the next level, and you know what really gets me mad? They made such a big deal about needing this armor to protect yourself from the dragon's breath, and you don't even fight the damn thing! So the mountain where you need the directions to the crypt and the crypt where you get the armor were completely unnecessary, and you didn't even have a reason to go to the Crown Prince's castle. That's 3 levels right there that didn't even need to be in the game. Normally having more game to play is a good thing, but when the game sucks this hard, I just want it to be over faster. And it will be over soon, because the next level is the last. Thank God. It's Merlin's tower, and there's only one objective: to kill Merlin. You get in, and he says, "Thanks for getting my crystal ball, but I'm not giving Fiona back. Up yours, ogre." So you grab a walking powder keg and use it to blow up this door, go back and grab another one to blow up the next door, and there's a third door, but your explosive farts work just fine on this one for some reason, but I'm not complaining. Now you blow up the crystal ball, chase Merlin around, and burp fire on him a few times, and here's how the game ends.
Oh, didn't see that coming.
This game was bad. Between the sloppy controls, horrible voice acting, complete lack of any sort of charm, and generally pissing me off, I can say without any doubt that I will never touch this game again. There are many more Shrek games in the world, and there might even be more on the way to make a quick buck off the next movie that's on its way. But these are the 4 that I have, and if you're wondering if they're worth playing... Kinda, yes, not really, and oh god, no. And with that, I will see you in the next video, and I really need to purge the Shrek venom that Extra Large put in my system. Good night.